Hey, this is Adam Hawk with Real Rock 103.9 The Bear, backstage at Pierre's with John Lahan and John Fred Young, bassist and drummer of Black Stone Cherry. For this new album, Folklore and Superstition, you guys tapped Bob Marlett as your producer, who's worked with Ozzy and Shinedown and so many other great bands. What did he bring to the table that Black Stone Cherry just needed a little tweaking or, didn't maybe have in the first place? What did he bring to the table?
He, the great thing about Bob is that we picked Bob out of about 4 or 5 different producers because, for one thing, we actually didn't ever want to work with a producer. And one time we got stuck with this dude that we were working with another label, and actually what happened was, it just didn't really work out, and we threatened to kill him and put him in a river. But what really a great scenario came out of it is that we hooked up with our management, Indigoot Management out of New York, and started working with Roadrunner. And the first album, my dad, Richard from the Headhunters, actually helped us produce it. And because we had really been burnt by using producers, we're like, we don't want to do that because we sound the way we are, we want to be the way we are, and like a lot of bands don't have an identity. And it's not their fault. It's just because we were very fortunate to have great roots growing up, and it's a great place to practice at the practice house. So, but for us, we wanted Bob because Bob was the most nostalgic producer. He had done Black Sabbath and some stuff, and also he did a great record that kind of pushed us over the line to use him is a record called Fused that Tony Iommi and Glenn Hughes and and Kenny Arnoff did together, and the mix on it is probably one of the heaviest records that's come out in the last 10 years. And it wasn't a huge record, but it was like if you were a musician, like that's one record you need to try to find. It's called Fused. But it was just really cool, man. Of course, Glenn played with Deep Purple and Trapeze, and of course Tony Iommi was with Black Sabbath. And for us, we were like, man, this guy has worked with some old school guys that are coming from an era of music that we listen to, and just being as young as we are, it doesn't seem like we would be really influenced by that many people. But growing up, going back to the practice house, for us, that was such a God Almighty! I mean, compared to being in like a basement and having the the opportunity to not ever have the police mess with you because of sound ordinance, and very fortunate, man. Because we would grow up and look at, like, we're sitting right here in this wall of autographs and stuff. We would actually have at the practice house, there's like Aretha posters and Sam Cooke and like James Brown, Zeppelin, Cream, Mountain. I mean, every like rock and roll poster you can think of that was ever created, back in the 50s and 60s, it is in that house. And they were originally put there to keep the heat in because there was no insulation. So, but it had a lot to do with the way we sounded and how we grew up amongst that stuff. So picking Bob, relating back to my story, because I'm so damn long-winded, Bob really understood that we didn't want to sound like a new band. We didn't want to necessarily, how you doing? We didn't necessarily want to, change what we were. We just wanted to be better, and we wanted the songwriting to come up, and maybe play a little bit tighter on some stuff. And I mean, man, I think we did something so tasteful without trying to become something we're not. And I mean, he was like, man, you guys don't be afraid to tell stories that are deeper in your backyard than what you dug up the first time. Because I mean, sometimes you think, well, let's don't get too far back in the woods because people won't understand it. But it's like, that's our culture, man. We're, like you said, rock and roll, storytellers. So, and it's a little, everybody thinks about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's like, what can we possibly say that's gonna be better than what Motley Crue said about that? So I mean, because we don't do drugs and we rock, and I haven't had sex in 6 months. So I mean, like, it's like, we got to write about something else.
All right. Well,
really, can somebody help me? No.
Well, you are in Fort Wayne, the strip club capital of Indiana.
Oh,
so
Lord have mercy.
Good luck with that one.
We're going home tonight. Don't worry about it.
We're going home tonight. Problem solved.
Yeah, I was just saying, I noticed right there it says tomorrow is home. So
Tomorrow is home.
yes.
For a whole 24 hours. Not even 24 hours. Yeah, because we go home after tonight. We'll get home probably, I'd say 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Then we get to go to our house, go to sleep. Knowing me and this one right here, we'll probably sleep till 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Then we'll wake up, have enough time to wash clothes and pack, and we'll have to be back at the bus to get to Cincinnati. Oh, wow. One day at home. That sucks, doesn't it? You sympathize with our pain?
Speaking of being close to home, you guys recorded the new album about, 90 miles from your house. And, what was that like? And not only that, you guys brought some instruments to the table that typically you don't hear, in a rock album, like banjos and turkey calls, I think. And also, you even made an instrument, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. Working with Bob, go back to that for a second. I think the biggest thing Bob did for us is he really helped knock any walls down that we had that I don't even think we realized we had them. Because kind of being from the South, you kind of try to protect yourself from going too Southern, and then when Bob came into the picture, he was like, no, man, don't worry about it. He said, just go for it. Do what you do, So, man, when we did the song's The Key on the new record, when we did that song, he was like, man, we got this jam section. He said, what do you guys want to do? And we were like, well, can we get crazy with it? And I was like, why don't we try just going nuts? And he was like, let's try it. So we got a banjo, had Turkey Call on there, got a harp going. Let's see, there's a crystal wine glass in the background. Honestly, there's so much stuff I don't even think we could really tell you everything. But one of the big things that a lot of people always talk about is I took a wash tub, like an old wash tub, drilled a hole through the center of it, and took a broom handle, notched a little corner in the side, stuck it on the edge of the wash tub, and took a piece of nylon cord and went up through the center of the wash tub and tied it around the top of it and turned that into a bass. Because when you do that and you hook it to the side of the wash tub and you start leaning it back, it creates tension. And you just slide your hand down the string until you get it into tune. The hard part, because the way it works, it's not like a thump and then cuts off. It's like a 2-note kind of thing. The stroke of the note, and then you have to clamp it to shut it off, like on the next beat. Otherwise, it'll just be like, dong, dong, and it sounds like crap.
It's like resonate.
Yeah, it was really weird sounding thing, but it was really cool to do, man, because, I can't really think of anybody that's put one of those on an album, especially a rock album, ever.
We're pretty different.
Right. And inventive, obviously.
Yeah. Bored.
I wonder, that could be it, too.
Earning that record label's money in the studio.
Oh, of course. You got to do that.
Let's do something interesting.
Now, you guys mentioned how close you are with your families and everything like that. And you guys, in my opinion, you guys were born to do this because you have such rich music background in your families. Like you mentioned, your father's in Kentucky Headhunters and stuff like that. Did they ever pull you aside and say, hey, try this, or you need to do this, What was their influence, like on recording of the albums and stuff like that?
I think it's pretty cool because we recorded the first album at home in a local studio, and of course all our friends and families would come over and they'd be like, "Man, that sucks, don't do that," or "I like that part," So for us, it was really cool because we had the input of our families and friends, and it was kind of like everybody knew stay out of the studio until like 8, but once 8 was there, come on over and hang out, because we had to work during the day. So, but Blackberry, we had, we traveled about, an hour and 45 south. So it was cool because people could come down and spend the night and hang out. And it plays a big role for us recording a record because we can't, I don't know if it's just because we're mama's boys or like we're just, I don't know what it is, but we can't be away from, what we are and how we were created. It's like, I don't know, man. It's almost like salmon. It's like, always trying to get back to where they, once were. But for us, just musically, I think that our families, especially like, all our dads, man, and moms have loaned us money for T-shirts, to buy out and, like just driving us places. I remember John's dad bought us a $5,000 Winnebago to tour in. We took it out on one show and it broke down on the way back, and we took it. It was one show.